Welcome to the 2020 Summit on What Next for Wireless Infrastructure, hosted by the University of Surrey 5G Innovation Centre in association with TelecomTV and supported by ETSI. I'm Guy Daniels and I'm your online MC and session moderator for this two-day event. Now we have two further sessions of presentations for you today, followed by a live Q&A panel discussion, and we really want to hear from you. So please submit your questions for our guests. There's a form here on the website for you to use. I'm joined once again by our host, Professor Rahim Tafazoli, who is head of the ICS and 5G IC at the University of Surrey, and by our chair for day two, Dr. Mike Short, Chief Scientific Advisor for the UK Government's Department of International Trade. Rahim, yesterday's sessions focused on the 5G promise for the coming 5 years or so, but today we're looking a little bit further ahead into the next decade and, dare we say, 6G. But with 5G only just rolling out at scale, what do we gain by looking at future wireless infrastructure technologies now?
Well, thank you, Guy. This was important to everybody to understand 5G capabilities, what has already been standardized and what are going to be standardized in future releases, and what application, well, in fantastic set of application will be enabled with 5G. Having that understanding, we can think about what should be the future research and challenges, which is beyond 5G capability. And that is what we plan to establish. We have European Commission talking about 6G strategy for Europe. And we have major industry players from all over the world, which I consider them as the major influencers, hopefully present their 6G perspective and vision for 2030 plus. I also will present 5G IC vision, which we have compiled and discussed it over the last 9 months to 1 year, and say what would be the research challenges for 2030 plus. And we will launch our white paper vision document. And I will also have a nice surprise for everybody to demonstrate one technology, 6G technology. I will not talk about it more. I'll leave that surprise to the later time in the day. But officially, I would like to establish a common vision internationally towards what are research and innovation challenges for 2030 plus, which we could eventually call it 6G.
Thank you, Rahim. And I certainly can't wait to find out what you've got in store for us, what this big surprise and reveal is. Very exciting. Mike, as chair of day two, what can we expect to hear? Rahim's covered a few things already, but what else are we looking at today?
I think we're going to cover a lot of ground, which is complementary to day one. We've got 10 very exciting speakers, as Rahim has referred to, but I think we'll get a better flavour for some of the priorities when it comes to not just research, but also investment. And I think one of the key areas for thinking about the longer term is we have to prioritise both the research and the investment. So starting off, we'll have the European Commission, Bernard Barani, who is Deputy Head of Unit in DG Connect. But we've also got 2 major operator speakers and 4 leading vendor specialists, and indeed some contributions further from the academic community later on during the day. When we put it all together, I think it'll guide people to think about the longer term and to think about what sort of support is going to be needed in this area between vendors and operators and other members of the ecosystem, including the research community. Unless we collaborate now, we could get it badly wrong. We've seen from previous generations the benefits of collaboration. We need to collaborate in a better way going forward.
Thank you, Mike. Raheem, we're halfway through the event, but it already feels like there is even more focus from researchers, from industry and from policymakers on the next generation of wireless and what's to come than we've seen with previous generations. Will this level of security make it even more challenging to agree on global standardized solutions?
Well, I think it is very important to have a global consensus, first of all, on the direction of the research and innovation challenges in order to maximize the academic and industry effort in the same direction and we innovate for 2030 plus. I appreciate the security concerns, but that doesn't mean that we should have regional standards. One of the important aspects of the telecommunication and over many generations is the technology we develop is a global standard. From the economic point of view, that facilitates faster return on the investment. It would facilitate roaming between different countries, between different regions. And at the end of the day, the global standards would benefit the users in terms of the cost, in terms of the technology advancement, which we could would be combination of different technologies from different part of the world and academia and industry. But we need to allow new players to get involved in the ecosystem for diversification of the vendors, and we should not, and that should not compromise a global standard. We should facilitate the new players to get involved, small and large companies from different regions, and offer their products and their solution.
Mike, you've been so closely involved with the development of wireless cellular. Are the stakes higher now than in previous decades as the digital economy plays an even more crucial role in our lives?
I don't think the stakes are higher. I think the opportunities are higher. But I think we need to think about this differently from previous generations. Clearly, previous generations have been used to thinking about optimizing spectrum and thinking about single networks. We're moving into a much more combinational network world where it's no longer just cellular, but it could also be fixed wireless access as well as Wi-Fi. It could also be satellite, as we've seen from some of the talks yesterday. We can also see the need to combine network elements across different radio access areas and wireline access areas. So maybe looking more beyond the common core to common services that transfer across networks. I also think, going back to your previous point on security, we need to be looking at end-to-end security across networks, not just for single networks. And therefore, that means how do we bring in the opportunities with many new players in the softwareization space, the cloudification space, if you like? How do we bring them in to help bring about higher levels of security end-to-end across all these networks? Now, on a longer-term basis, this is hard when we've grown up with specialist network designs, and looking at combinations is tough. But we need to do more in that area to add more capacity and capability to the communications that we will need. These are some of the natural challenges that the researchers need to help us with in collaboration with vendor communities as well as operators.
Thank you, Mike. And we'll be speaking again later in the day during the live Q&A session. A reminder that we want to hear from you, so please use the website submission form to send in your questions. The session will start at 4 p.m. UK time today. Mike, could you please do the honours and introduce our first presentation for this final day?
It's my great pleasure to introduce a representative from the European Commission who've been very helpful since the early days of mobile and GSM in all their support. This is Bernard Barani, who is the Deputy Head of Unit in DG Connect within the European Commission. And if I may say so, the floor is yours.